Good evening. I'm Jake Fengman, graduate student at Liberty University. Today I'm going to talk about the contributions of Flora Macdonald to the Loyalist cause in the Revolutionary War. I'm here at my home in Fayetteville, North Carolina, about 10 miles from where Alan and Flora Macdonald settled before Flora is said to have roused the Highlander troops before their battle with the Patriots at Moores Creek in 1776. When we think about heroic women of the Revolutionary War, it may be a little bit unusual to talk about Flora Macdonald because she was a loyalist. Flora was already a famous heroine in Highlander society, and according to a 1941 article in the North Carolina Historic Review by Dorothy Mackay Quynn titled Flora Macdonald in History, Flora's fame came from her role in saving Prince Charles, also known as the Pretender. As tradition says, Flora snuck Prince Charles to safety disguised as her female servant Betty Burke. Quinn theorizes that when Flora's stepfather, who was leading a group of men to hunt for Prince Charles for the British, gave Flora and Betty a passport for safe passage, he knew the true identity of Betty Burke and was a party to the plot to save Prince Charles. And eventually, Flora was captured and taken to London to stand trial. And according to an article by Deanna Kerrigan titled Flora Macdonald, the Bright and Particular Star, published by the North Carolina Museum of History, in London, Flora's charisma and reputation won her the support of the Jacobites, and eventually she was returned home without standing trial. Flora eventually married Alan Macdonald, and after a series of unfortunate events such as increased rent and failed crops, they decided to immigrate to America in 1774. In the fall of 1774, they arrived in Wilmington, North Carolina, and settled in the Cross Creek area, which is now known as Fayetteville, with some other Highlanders. And Flora's reputation preceded her. These Highlanders knew the story of Flora and Prince Charles. The Highlanders, they were loyalists, and her husband Alan and son-in-law Alexander were appointed by the royal governor to lead a militia of Highlanders to assist in the British cause in the Revolutionary War in 1776. The Highlanders were attempting to link up with the British regulars. They were in Wilmington, North Carolina. But the Patriots had set up a camp between the two to prevent this near Moores Creek, North Carolina. Kerrigan quotes a legend of Flora as saying, quote, "On the public square near the royal standard, in Gaelic, she made a powerful address. With all her power, exhibiting her genius, she dwelt at length upon the loyalty of the Scots, their bravery, and the sacrifices her people made. She urged them to duty and was successful in exciting all to a high military pitch." Kerrigan continues to write that no one knows if the story is true, but nonetheless, it persists as a popular legend. Ultimately, the Highlanders were defeated at Moores Creek. Alan and Alexander were taken prisoner, and Flora returned home with no real consequence to the Revolutionary War other than the Patriots prevented the Highlanders and the British from joining forces in North Carolina. The Highlanders rallied behind Flora Macdonald because of this legend of her and Prince Charles. And it's interesting that the story that they knew probably wasn't even wholly true. Flora probably didn't act alone in saving Prince Charles. She probably had the support of her family, even her stepfather who was hunting for Prince Charles. But the legend attributes most of the courage to Flora. And the Americans have a similar heroine in people like Betsy Ross. As Laurel Thatcher Ulrich's commonplace article, How Betsy Ross Became Famous, articulated, the story of Betsy Ross may not even be wholly true. but Americans have rallied behind her as a national hero in the Revolution for a long time. And her legend, even if the story isn't true, isn't going anywhere anytime soon. So, Flora Macdonald was the Betsy Ross of the Loyalists, and she should be remembered as a heroic woman of the Revolutionary War, even if she did support the losing side.